welcome. It's me. Hands, hands, hands. Oh, oh, oh. It was working fine before. Now apparently the universe has given me 1 frame per second, apparently. Do the robot, do the robot, do the robot. Oh well, this is just what we're like now. This is a little uncanny valley, isn't it? Hello. This is the Briony Rose Smith bot. Hi. Anyway, hello everyone and welcome. It's Sunday. Yeah, it is a wee bit, like I said, it was fine. It was fine before. I don't understand. When I was setting up, it was fine. Technology. Yes. Hello everyone. Hello Maxwell. Hello the native gamer. Hello normal sized phantom. Hello Benjamin. Hello Xnom. Hello Spooky Boy. Welcome, 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 welcome. Yes, it's edumacation time. I might need to swap models. I may need to lose. Oh my god, what happened to my fingers? No, yeah, I think I need to go lose a dimension. I'm obviously gaining a dimensions a little bit. Nothing wrong with stop motion me. I suppose so. Apparently my lips are fine, which is weird that my lips aren't going 1 frame a second. That probably means it's this then. Maybe if I restart this. It's definitely this. Okay, I'm gonna lose a little bit of motion for a minute, restart an app, and we'll see if that works. It's GTA today! Good luck on stealing lots of money. Lose a 4th dimension, become unstuck in time. We try. It's still... I need to do a lot of updates. Everything needs updating, but I haven't updated things because no, it's still doing it. Is it my webcam? We could do this slightly shittier version. Which... Do you want to see some menus? Wah! Menus. Settings. General settings. We can get a little bit back here, but I don't think it can... as much as it says that, it doesn't actually pick up all this stuff. My hands are tied! Also, I feel like we've lost a bit of fabric on one of my shoulders. Okay, we have some movement. It's not the best, but you know. My hands are tied. Help! Help! I'm tied up. General settings. You can't see my hand now. You can't see me salute anymore because my hands are tied. Wow. Hello Razor, welcome. Welcome to the reading. As you can see, I didn't have the spreadsheet today. I think my neck tracking is actually a little bit better like this, you know? Note to me, I should keep that setting on. God, I am bouncy today. Sorry. Anyway, we're reading about Pompeii again today. I don't have any books to update for my 10,000 this week. I started a book, and I got a good ways into it, but then I didn't like it. I was trying to keep going. I was like, oh, come on. You haven't got that much left. You may as well read all the way through it. And then I got to a scene, and the main characters were in trouble, and I didn't care. And that's the biggest cardinal sin a book can do to me. To have the main characters in situations where I should care, but I don't. So, goodbye to that book. It's wasted my time. Hello, Brathian, welcome. No, Brathian, not Brathian. Brath, not breathe. Sorry. Oh, tea! Thank you. I was distracted. Don't laugh at me. Managed to walk all the way into my room and be all the way behind me before I realized that he was coming with the tea. I mean, the tea fairy was coming with the tea. Wow, indeed. I'm joining a book club this month, so I'm reading nothing but Black and Teeth for it. Ooh, that sounds like fun. I hope you have a good time at your book club. Surprise tea jump scare. Literally, yes, I had a surprise tea jump scare. The best kind of jump scare. I typed bathroom. No idea how to say it. Well, that's a wonderful spelling of bathroom. Brathion. Brathion. Blah. Anyway, should we read some book? Probably. Let's do. So we're reading about the Pompeian house. I love saying Pompeian because my head's like, oh, Pomeranians. This is so bouncy. It's a good thing. I used to make up names by like looking around my room and like taking syllables from random things. If only the word Pompeian, but alas, it has an extra P. Yeah. Pompeian. 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 Pomeranian. Pomeranian. Pompeian. Pom-pom. Our chief sources of information regarding the domestic architecture of ancient Italy are two. The treatise of Vitruvius and the remains at Pompeii. The Pompeian houses represent many variations from the plan described by the Roman architect, yet in essential particulars there is no disagreement, and it is not difficult to form a clear conception of their arrangements. A Pompeian Pomeranian in a Pompeian palace. We've made a new tongue twister! A Pompeian Pomeranian in a Pompeian palace. Say it fast. The houses of Greco-Roman antiquity differed from those of modern times in several respects. They took their light and air from inside the apartments, being grouped about a court, about a large central room, which ordinarily had an opening in the ceiling. The distribution of space being thus made on a different principle. The large rooms were often larger, the smaller rooms smaller and more numerous than in modern dwellings, of corresponding size. And in the better houses, the decoration of both walls and floors are more permanent than is usual in our day. The ancient houses were relatively low, in most cases, if we expect the crowded tenants of imperial Rome not exceeding 2 stories. The windows in the inside walls were generally few and small, and the external appearance was not unlike that of oriental houses of the present time. In the city house, the large front entrance was frequently ornamented with carved posts and lintel. Am I still using that camera? Ah, there we go. I can turn off one of my cameras now if we're not using the hand tracking. Who put a pom in the pom-pom-pompadom? The Pomeranian pom-pom and the Pompadom Express. The development of the Italic house can be traced at Pompeii over a period of almost 400 years. The earlier formed consistent of a single series of apartments. Consisted, not consistent. Of a single series of apartments. A central room, atrium, with smaller rooms opening into it, and a garden at the rear. An example is the House of the Surgeon, a restoration of such a house with its high atrium, wide front door, and garden is shown in a fig. Oh, we like figs. So that's what our early Pompeian houses looked like. And that was literally the next page. Wonderful. Oh yeah, figgy time. Figgy pudding. Later, under Greek influence, a court with a colonnade and surrounding rooms was added. This was called... I should get Google Translate out for these streams. La 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 la, Google Translate, help me say a thing. La 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 la. Ecosia. I need pronunciation. Yep, that's definitely how I spell pronunciation. Google, Google, Google. New model, old model. This old thing. This was my first 3D model. I just haven't used it for a little bit. I used it last week, to be fair. Peristylium, apparently, according to howtopronounce.com, which I didn't know was a thing, and I now will be using a lot. It was called peristylium, peristyle. It is simple. It is simply the more elaborate inner part of the Greek house. It doesn't know that word. Howtopronounce.com doesn't have that word. Androntis, joined to the dwelling of Italic origin. We find the union of atrium and peristyle with their respective groups of apartments fully accomplished in the 2nd century BC. The tougher period, the type of dwelling thus developed, remained in vogue during Roman times and is often called the Roman house. Hello, Chase. Welcome. Also, welcome, Gaming Aussie. What makes me choose between models? Vibes. 100% vibes. Sometimes if we're reading something that's more adventurous, I'm like, yeah, I'll go with my adventurer model. If it's, I don't know, a bit more, like for Pride and Prejudice, I went for like my summer clothes, because that's like the closest to a courtly dress. I don't know, vibes. And I thought this was a nice vibe for reading some history. Andronitis is totally a medical condition. Sounds like it would be. Yes, house. You said androntis instead of andronitis. I did. Yes. There will be much mispronunciation. The hot teacher model. If that's what we're calling this. Then I guess it fits then, doesn't it? If we're learning things. The double origin is clearly indicated by the names of the rooms. Those of the front part are designed by Latin words. Atrium, fosses, ala, tablinum. The apartments at the rear bear Greek names. Peristylium, in this weather, I am but a puddle of goo in real life. Like, yeah, everything's a hot model right now. It's awful. It's so sweaty. I don't like it. Triclinium. Osseous, etc., etc. Triclinium. Linium. In large houses, both atrium and peristyle were sometimes duplicated. The houses of Pompeii impressed the visitor as having been designed primarily for summer use. The arrangements contemplate the spending of much time in the open air, and pains was taken to furnish protection from the heat, not from the cold. The greater part of the area is taken up by colonnades, gardens, and courts. From this point of view, the atrium may class as a court. The living rooms had high ceilings. In the summer they were cool and airy, in winter difficult to heat. They were dark and closed when the door was shut, cold when it was open. I see, so it's like the opposite of a conservatory. Hello Boris, welcome! So this is the etc. I know it's etc, but it sounds very close to that. Peristylium, tablinum, triclinum, good things. With a single exception, the arrangements for heating... Oh, I wanted to tell you, I got Assassin's Creed Odyssey. After we talked about it last time, I went into the sale and I grabbed it, and the discovery mode is actually really cool, and I really want to do a stream on it. Or multiple streams. It's really cool. It'd be so much fun. Boss did already confirm to bring a potato inside an anime girl mech suit. I did not confirm this. So I just open more cooling vents. Bodies aren't designed for cooling vents. Imagining Potato Briony piloting and oh my god, and venting the car. Oh, I wish I could, but that is all. That is all I have to confirm. But as much as British people like to talk about the weather, my only comment about the weather right now is bleh. That is it. That's all the weather deserves. Where was I? Something. With a single exception, the arrangements for heating so often met with the remains of houses discovered in northern countries are found at Pompeii only in connection with bathrooms. The cold was ineffectively combated by means of braziers. We are led to believe that the Pompeians were extremely sensitive to heat, but endured cold with great patience. One who makes himself familiar with the arrangements of Italian houses today will receive a similar impression, although the peculiarity is perhaps less obvious in that the case of the ancient dwellings. Radiator panelist. Not being able to open cooling vents sounds like a skill issue. No, it's not a skill issue. It's a mechanical issue. I am excited for Cotton. I am. In describing the Pompeian houses, it is more convenient to designate the principal rooms by the ancient names. In this fig, we present an ideal plan. In it, the names are given to the parts of the house, the relative location of which is subject to comparatively little variation. These parts will first be discussed, then those will be taken up which present a greater diversity in their arrangements. So we're about to learn some very specific stuff about Pompeian houses. Are you ready for copious amounts of detail? It's gonna be great. Let's go. We got the vestibule, the fauces, and the front door. Let's go. You mean Dorians? I haven't played Date Everything. However, I have seen enough clips. The vestibule was the space between the front door and the street. The derivation of the word v plus the roof of stair, to stand aside, suggests the purpose. The vestibule was a place where one could step aside from the bustle and confusion of the street. In many houses there was no vestibule, the front door opening directly on the sidewalk. And where vestibules did exist at Pompeii, they were much more modest than those belonging to the houses of wealthy Romans, to which reference is so frequently made in classical writers. Roman vestibules were often supported by columns of costly marbles, and adorned with statues and other works of art. Only one vestibule at Pompeii was treated as a portico, that of the house of the Vestals, near the Herculean Gate. This was once as wide as the atrium, the roof being carried by 4 columns. But before the destruction of the city, 2 partitions were built parallel, with the sides dividing it into 3 parts. A narrow vestibule of the ordinary type, with a shop at the right and at the left. We're going to be fully qualified Pompeian architects by the end of the stream. Honestly, by the end of this book, we might be... We're still only 40% of the way through this book, by the way. Also, Nanite Chase, thank you for coming. Thank you for popping in. And this is like our 11th stream of it. We're not even halfway through. The passage inside the front door was called Fauces, or Prothyron. Prothyron. You have book news, Boris? Tell me the book news. Tell me. According to Vitruvius, the width of it, in the case of large atriums, should be half, in smaller atriums 2/3. That of the tablinum at Pompeii, with width, is generally less than half. In the house of the tougher period, the corners of the Faucus and Prothyron. I wasn't far off on the second one. The Faucus. Faucus sounds like a plant. Sounds like a ficus, so it sounds like a plant. Where it opens into the atrium, were ornamented with pilasters connected at the top by an entablature. The vestibule and So my father-in-law had a neighbour who was giving away a bunch of books on aviation, grabbed 1/3 of what was available, and that amounted to 3 stacks of books, 30 to 40 books. Oh my god! What a treasure trove! Heck yeah! Time to learn all about aviation. Gonna get so much education done. Heck yeah. It's a figus. It's a figus. A faucus. Yeah, Boris is going to be a pilot. The vestibule and faucus were originally of the same width, and were separated by projecting doorposts with a slightly raised threshold, and heavy double doors. Sometimes, as in the house of Epidaurus Rufus, there was in addition a small door at the side of the vestibule, opening into a narrow passage connecting with the faucus. In such cases, the folding doors, which on account of their size and the method of hanging must always have been hard to open, were generally kept shut. They would be thrown back early in the morning for the reception of clients, and on special occasions. At other times, the more convenient small door would be used. So they had a big fancy door, but they did not use it because it was awkward as heck. Like, I don't already have a few boxes of them on your Seems to be a fair number on pretty specific topics, which is nice. I'll eventually purchase. Yes, please do. Sounds lovely. I want to be a pilot for fun, but it's expensive. It is expensive. I got to do some piloting when I was younger, because I used to be an air cadet. So we used to get to go flying for very cheap price. So every house had to do that. Argon entertaining the wall with the big doors every day. No, they didn't do it every day. They could be asked. In several instances, the volcanic dust so hardened about the lower part of a front door that it has been possible to make a cast by pouring soft plaster of Paris into the cavity left by the crumbling away of the wood. Ooh, fascinating. On the plus side, US is cheaper than many other countries. Yee. I have flown a plane. It was like for 5 seconds, but I did. We went in little grob tutors, so we were like next to the pilot and we had our own controls, so he let me control for a little bit. From air cadet to space cadet. Woo, space. It's okay. There are several of these casts in the little museum at Pompeii. With their help, and with the well-preserved stone thresholds before us, it is possible to picture to ourselves the appearance of the doorway. I can fly with a machine that is designed. I couldn't take off and land. I didn't do that bit. I just took control of it while it was in the air and kept it steady, and that was all I did. It was not that exciting. If I'd done a few more flights, I probably could have done something cool, but I was too scared to do anything really cool that day. It was my first time. I didn't want to be doing a loop-de-loop or anything. Congrats on not crashing again. Yeah, I lived, bitch! The doorsteps were protected by wooden castings and antepagmenta. Absolutely. I do kind of regret it. I'm not gonna lie. I regret being such a coward that day that I didn't do a barrel roll or anything like that. I would love to tell you that I was that cool, but I wasn't. I was, in fact, a coward. Just imagine, you could be Wing Commander Briony reading as Eurofighter technical manuals if you'd gone into the RAF. God, no. I wanted to be a pilot for a while when I was younger, but what killed it was when an RAF, like, careers person came into school, and they still had, like, segregated gender roles in some of their roles that they were hiring for, and I was like, I don't like that. I don't want to work for you anymore. I'm glad you can pretend I'm cool, because I know I'm not, and that's okay. I could just be dorky. I don't have to be cool. I went to see Superman, and if he's punk rock, then I can be punk rock. The German Air Force MiG-29G manual is available in English to the public. Oh, lordy. Like I said, we have a lot of this book left to get through, but, you know, we could do that. We could have a goof stream on that. Where even the hell was I? Oh, yeah, I was trying to read that. I legit think you're cool. One does not have to international woman in mystery to be cool. Duh! I'm not cool. Anyway, she takes one compliment and stops. From Pompeian architecture to jet fighter manuals, the whiplash is amazing. What were we reading before this? We were reading Filipino folk tales before this. And then what did we read before that? Who cares? I can't remember. I think we had one preview of Protector, which is a book series that I got given. Treasure Island, that was it. We read Treasure Island. We did. I totally didn't look through, but you got to it as well. Normal Size Phantom. Wasn't here, didn't happen, doesn't exist. It does exist! The VODs are there. You can catch up. Did we start the list? Sorry, I've gotten completely... Oh yeah, this was the to read. This is the list of books we were looking at to potentially read. I can add the fighter pilot manual onto this list. Let's do that. What was it? MIG-29G manual. Perfect. Anyway. Yeah, like Treasure Planet, but without space. Yeah! The folding doors swung on pivots, which were fitted into sockets in the threshold and in the lintel. The pivots were of wood, but were provided, at least the lower ones, with a cylindrical cap of iron or bronze, and the socket had a protective lining of the same metal. Both caps and sockets, especially those of bronze, were found in the thresholds in a good state of preservation. It seems strange that ancient builders did not use smaller pivots of solid metal, on which the doors would have turned much more easily, but a conservative tradition in this regard prevailed against innovation. Geometry. The fastenings were elaborate. Near the inner edge of each door was a vertical bolt, which shot into a hole in the threshold. There was probably a corresponding bolt on the top, as in the case of large modern doors. Sometimes there was a heavy iron lock, turned with a key, and also an iron bar which was fastened across the crack in such a way as to tie the two folds together. In many houses there are holes in the walls of what did we say this one was? Faucets, just back of the door, in which at night a strong wooden bar, Sarah, was placed. Hardly less often will you find a hole in the floor a few feet back, in which one end of a slanting prop was set, the other end being braced against the middle of the door. These arrangements bring to mind Juvenal's vivid picture of the disturbances and dangers of the streets of Roman night. Quisera. Number 2, the atrium. An atrium completely covered by a roof was extremely rare. With few exceptions, there was a large rectangular opening over the middle. Compulvium, towards which the roof sloped from all sides, so like a cup. In the floor, directly under the compulvium, was a shallow basin, impulvium, into which the rainwater fell. The impulvium had 2 outlets. One was connected with the cistern. A round cistern mouth, putiel, ornamented with carving, often stood near the edge of the basin. I did think about that when it described all the walls slanting towards the hole. I'm like, wow, that's not going to be great when it rains. But no, that was the point. As in the house of the tragic poet. The other outlet led under the floor to the street in front, carrying off the overflow when the cistern was full, and also the water used in cleaning the floor. in the better houses, a fountain was often placed in the middle of the impulvium. Vitruvius mentions 5 kinds of atriums, the basics of classification being the construction of the roof: Tuscan, tetrastyle, Corinthian, dispulvate, and tortoise atriums. Tortoise. The first 3 are well illustrated at Pompeii. The Tuscan atrium, supposed by the Romans to have been derived from the Etruscans, was apparently the native Italic form. 2 heavy girders were placed across the roof above the ends of the impulvium. On these, 2 shorter crossbeams were laid over the sides of the impulvium. The corners of the rectangular frame thus made were connected with the walls at the corner of the atrium by 4 strong slanting beams. On these and on the frame were placed the lower ends of the sloping rafters, carrying the tiles, the arrangement of which can be seen in these figs. This one. And this one. Fig. Fig, 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 fig. And this fig. 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 This was the most common arrangement of the roof at Pompeii. The edge of the compulvium was frequently ornamented with terracotta waterspouts representing the heads of animals. In the house near the Porta Marina, the projecting foreparts of dogs and lions were used in place of the heads. The remains of a part of the compulvium have been put together again, and are seen in Fig. Ooh, that's pretty cool. Look at the doggos. The lions were placed over the larger spouts at the 4 corners. The undersides of the spouts, surmounted by the dogs and lions, was ornamented with acanthus, leaving in relief. The same illustration presents an example of the antefixes sometimes found. Fascinating. Shall we see a larger of this fig? Larger fig. So this is the layers in which it is built up. You have the main beam, and then these, and then the slanty boys, and then the nuts, and then tiles. Yeah. Like big figs, and we cannot lie. Yeah, we like figs. The tetrastyle atrium differed from the Tuscan only in only one respect. There were 4 columns supporting the roof, 1 at each corner of the impulvium. In most cases, these supports, which inferred with the view of the interior, can hardly have been intended primarily for ornament. They simplified the construction, making the ceiling and roof firm without use of heavy and expensive girders. The Corinthian atrium had a larger compulvium than the other kinds, the roof being supported by a number of columns. There are 3 examples at Pompeii: the house of Epidus Rufus with 16 columns, of Castor and Pollux with 12, and of Fulconica with 6. The roof of the displuvite atrium sloped from the middle towards the sides, the water being carried off by lead pipes. The aperture for the admission of light and air was relatively much higher above the floor than in the kinds of previously described. No example of this has been found in Pompeii. Here's the Tuscan atrium. It is a bit more fancy, don't you think? And everything slopes down so they can collect the rainwater. Make sure nothing goes to waste. The tortoise atrium, Atrium testudineatum, was small and without a compluvium. The roof had a pyramidal shape. It triangles. There were possibly a few examples at Pompeii, as we may infer from the occasional absence of an impluvium. In the only instance, however, in which it is possible to determine the form of the roof, this must have been very different from that referred to by the Roman writer. Vtuber says further that the atrium should have an oblong shape, the width being 3/5 or 2/3 of the length, or measured on the side of a square, the hypotenuse of which is taken for the length. The design was obviously to bring the sides nearer together, thus lessening the strain on the two girders, which, in the commonmost form, were used to sustain the roof. The height to the frame of the compluvium should be 3/4 of the width. Oh yeah, more maths. In the case of the terrastyle and Corinthian atriums at Pompeii, the height is indicated by that of the columns, but there are rarely adequate data for determining the height of the others, and with exactness in regard to length and breadth, the proportions harmonize fairly well with those recommended by Vitruvius, but the height, in the case in which it can be ascertained, is often greater than this isn't even a strange word. I'm just tripping. We're just tripping. She's tripping. Contemplated by the rules of the architect. Looking at the Pompeian atriums in their present condition, one might easily receive the impression that they were primarily courts rather than rooms. In the respect of the restorations of Roman houses in the older books are often at fault, the atrium being generally represented as too low in comparison with the rooms around it. I haven't even had a sip of my tea yet. It's been too warm and I've been dreading it. But now I have. The references in the ancient writers uniformly point to this as the principal room of the house. In the earliest times, the hearth stood here, and a hole in the roof served as a chimney. The accumulation of soot on the ceiling and the walls suggest the characteristic name Black Room for atrium comes from ater, black. Here the household gathered at mealtime. Here they worked or rested from their labours. In the atrium, Lucretia sat with her maids spinning late at night, when her husband entered unexpectedly with his friends. Such the atrium remained in farmhouses to the latest times. The name, meanwhile, was transformed to the corresponding apartment of elegant city homes, while the country it went out of use, being replaced by Colonna, the kitchen. Lucretia. On account of the presence of the hearth in such a room in his Sabine villa, Horace loved to dine, conversing in topics grave or gay with his rustic neighbours, and partaking of the simple fare with relish, while his slaves, freed from the restraints of city life, were permitted to eat at the same time, sitting at a separate table. The remains of an atrium of this kind, with its hearth and niche for the images of the household gods, may still be seen in the villa recently excavated near Boscorau. Without doubt, some houses of the ancient type might be found in cities, even in Rome as late as the end of the Republic. We read of one in Cicero's time, in the atrium of which spinning was done. But at Pompeii the hearth had been banished from the atrium at a comparatively early date, in the tougher period, if not before, and the room was made uncomfortable to sit in for a considerable part of the year by the broad opening in the compulvium. Why did they ban the hearth? Why? Why did you ban central heating? I would like to try spinning a yarn, not in a writer sense, like actually. I see people on the TikTokies do it, and I'm like, oh, that looks cool. I want to make my own yarn, but at the same time, I don't want to have to buy all the equipment. So. From the architectural point of view, however, the atrium never lost its significance as the central apartment. In all its dimensions, but particularly in height, it presents so great a contrast with the rooms around it as to remind us of the relation of a Roman Catholic church to the chapels at the side. The impression of spaciousness was perhaps deepened with the atrium when the atrium was provided with a ceiling. Few traces of such ceilings are found at Pompeii, and in the smaller houses, the inside of the roof seems generally to have been visible. The atrium of the Corinthian type most nearly resembled a court, on account of the size of the opening to the sky, and the use of many columns. A suggestion of the un-Italic character of this type appears in the name, for one can scarcely suppose that atriums in the strict sense exist in Corinth. Although the Pompeian atriums show no traces of a hearth, there is possibly a reminiscence of the ancient arrangement in the Gartibulum. A table which we frequently find at the rear of the impulvium. Varro says that since his boyhood these tables on which vessels of bronze were placed had gone out of use. At Pompeii they remained in fashion much longer. The Gartibulum, with its bronze vases, may symbolize the ancient hearth with the cooking utensils. Possibly, however, it represents the kitchen table near the hearth on which the dishes were washed. A very early edition attempt to develop Gartic phone, especially when they didn't know what a phone was, let alone a Gartic. I don't know what a Gartic is either. In where dishes were washed. That it may have served a similar purpose in later times is evident from the fact that in front of it a marble pedestal was often placed for a statue which threw a jet of water into a marble basin at the edge of the impulvium. This group of table and fountain figure and basin appears in many Pompeian atriums. In this we see gartiblum, and the supports of the marble basin, but the base of the fountain figure has disappeared. The strong box of the master of the house, Arca, it often stood in the atrium, usually against one of the side walls. It was sometimes adorned with reliefs, as the one shown in this fig, which is now in the Naples Museum. It stood on a heavy block of stone, or low foundation of masonry, to which it was attached by an iron rod passing down through the bottom. A wealthy Pompeian sometimes had more than one of these chests. In 3 atriums, the herm of the proprietor stands at the rear. One, with the portrait of Cornelius Rufus, is shown in this fig. Is this Cornelius Rufus? Plates are nearly as tasty as figs. Well, that's because your figs come on plates, but the plate is also edible. When there were 2 atriums in a house, the larger was more elaborately furnished than the other, and was set aside for the public or official life of the proprietor. The smaller one was used for domestic purposes. Typical examples are found in the House of the Faun and of the Labyrinth. The Faun and of the Labyrinth. In the former, the principal atrium is of the Tuscan type, the other terrace style. In the latter, the large atrium is terrace style, the smaller Tuscan. A plate made out of figs. Oh my god. The tablinum. The tablinum was a large room at the rear of the atrium, opening into the latter with its whole width. The connection of the 2 rooms is clearly shown here. Scrolling back to find where we were. And in this fig. According to Vtuber, when the atrium was 30 to 40 feet in width, as in the larger Pompeian houses, the tablinum should be half as wide. When the atrium was smaller, the width of the tablinum should be 2/3 that of the atrium, while the height at the entrance should be 9/8, and inside 4/3 of the width. These proportions will not hold good for Pompeii, where the tablinum is generally narrower and higher. All this talk of figs has got me checking the fig tree you have in your back garden. Well, I'm glad you're checking your plants, she says, looking at her succulents that she's managing to kill. I'm not good with plants. The posts at the entrance were usually treated as pilasters, joined above by corinthes. Architecturally, the front of this room formed the most impressive feature of the atrium. Between the pilasters hung portieres, which might be drawn back and fastened at the sides. In the house of the Silver Wedding, the fastenings were found in place, bronze discs from which a ship's beak projected, attached to the pilasters. In early times, the tablinum ordinarily had an opening at the rear also, but this was not so high as that in the front, and could be closed by broad folding doors. In winter, the doors were probably kept shut. In summer, they were left open, and the room, cool and airy, served as a dining room, a use which harmonizes well with a passage of Varro, explaining the derivation of the name. In the olden time, says the writer, people used to take their meals in the winter by the hearth. In summer, they ate out of doors. country folk in the court, city people in the tablinum, that's a different one, that's not the tablinum, that's got an extra U in it, which we understand to have been a summer house built of boards, the derivation of tabulinum, of which tablinum is a shortened form from tabula, a board, is obvious. The period to which Varro refers anecdotes that of the oldest houses at Pompeii. Tablinum, where the Romans kept their ghosts, yes, specifically. The room which we call tablinum was, when a deep recess at the rear of the atrium, open at the front, as now, but enclosed by a wall at the rear. Against this wall was a veranda opening into the garden, toward which the broad roof sloped. People took their meals in the veranda in summer, and to it the name tablinum was naturally applied. In the recess at the rear of the atrium corresponding to the later tablinum, it was the bed of the master of the house, called lectus aversus, because facing one who enters the front door as late as the reign of Augustus, long after it became custom to set aside a closed apartment for the family room. A reminiscence of the ancient arrangement still remained in the couch, which stood at the rear of the atrium, or in the tablinum, which was called the lectus aversus, or even lectus genialis. Far too close to the word genitals. The removal of the hearth and the bed from the atrium must have taken place when the small hole in the roof was replaced by the compulvium. A broad opening was made in the rear wall, and the place where the bed has been turned into a light, airy room, this was now used as a summer room instead of the veranda, the name of which was in consequence transferred to it. Turning off my little light. I have a light, you know, like flash tubers have, because it helps with the tracking, but it's far too feckin' warm to have it on. And I'm gonna open my window. You may hear noises. Hopefully not too much. Instantly. But I am too warm to not have that window open. I've tried. Even in later times, when the houses were extended by the addition at the rear of the peristyle with its group of apartments, the tablinum may often have been used as a summer dining room, but the tendency now was to withdraw the family life into the more secluded rooms about the peristyle. The tablinum, lying between the front and the rear of the house, was used as a reception room for guests who were not admitted into the privacy of the home, and here undoubtedly the master of the house received his clients. In the house of the Veti, the tablinum is omitted on account of the abundance of room, but at the rear of the atrium there are wide openings into the peristyle. The alley? Alley, 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 alley. That's not right. I'm sorry, just saying that just reminded me. There's a new anime out that you should all know about because it's important. It's called Night of the Living Cat. And it's about a zombie apocalypse, but it's not zombies, it's cats. And then if the cats catch you, you become a cat. And it's set in a world where everyone really likes cats. So a lot of people turn into cats. It's so good. Panty and Stocking Season 2, I need to catch up on that. I haven't watched it yet, but I will because it's so good. But it's Night of the Living Cat. And one of the side characters was Freddie Mercury. Just randomly in this scene, there was a guy who looked like Freddie Mercury, and then his only line was "Ayo" when he agreed to something. Where can you read this? I don't know where you can read it, but I know it's airing on Crunchyroll right now. I want to see that, but no, they don't. Everyone in the anime loves cats too. Like, literally, in the episode I just watched, they crashed their car because they didn't want to hurt the cats. Everyone really likes the cats, and it's really sad because they want to pet the cats. But the cats are the bad guys, but they want to pet the cats. It is safe. It's safe if you like cats. It's still very safe. It's just, they're just menaces. It's great. It's wonderful. They all really like cats. They're all, like, heartbroken when they have to, like, shoo them away. It's so good. We had the army came in at one point. And they put up, like, a wall of water bottles to try get them to go away. Fair enough. I respect your decision on not wanting to pay Crunchy. Certified safe for Kato. Safe for Kato. Safe for Widow Katos. Yeah, I don't think this anime will actually hurt a cat. Everyone loves cats too much. Like I said, the guy totaled his car. It's like, oh no, it's a colony of cats! And I thought to myself, like, any other zombie flick, and they would pile through the cats. But no, he totaled his car trying to avoid the cats. Wonderful. Safe for cats, yes. It's so good. I don't know. You needed to know about it. It's very important. I can't believe Rara would cause a zombie apocalypse. But she's a big cat, and I haven't seen any big cats in it yet. They're just small kitties for now. I hope they go to a zoo and we see some big cats. I would love that. Everyone's just gonna turn into cats as one guy is gonna be immune and has to take care of them. Yeah! I'm very curious. We've been introduced to a person with cat allergies, and I'm like, how is that gonna work? Is she gonna be immune? Is she gonna be, like, allergic to herself? I hope not. Because I've said to myself, this is the best apocalypse, because I want to be turned into a cat, that's fine. Sounds like a great existence. We'll all just start eating each other after a while, though, because the food will run out. The ecosystem will be destroyed with this many cats. But, yeah, you shouldn't just absolutely needed to tell you about that. It is peak fiction. It is most wonderful. It is very silly, and I love silly things. I got very important tangent that I had to go on. I will. I need to look up how to spell the first word though, because I'm not sure how they spell Night of the Living Dead. Night of the Living Cat. There is a manga, also known as this. Okay, I can copy and paste that. Night of the Living Cat. Good shit, good shit. 10 out of 10. Stupid fiction that will cheer you up. The cats are very CG, I will warn you about that. But I don't care. Cats, bro. I'm happy to see them. Oh, that one... I don't want to tell you... There's only been 2 episodes so far. I don't want to spoil the whole thing, so I'm going to shut up now. The ale, it's fiction for now. I'd be happy. If that's the way our world goes, fine. Fine. Turn me into a cat. Let's go. The ale... The wings of the atrium with 2 deep recesses in the sides. They were ordinarily at the rear, but they're sometimes placed at the middle. Is the house of Epidus Rufus. Vtuber says that where the atrium is from 30 to 40 feet long, 1/3 of the length should be taken for the breadth of the alley. In the case of atriums larger, the breadth of these rooms should be proportionally less, being fixed at 1/5 of the length for atriums from 80 to 100 feet long. The height at the entrance should be equal to the breadth. What's the same situation but foxes? Where's that? There's a fox apocalypse one? Oh my god, I need to see it. Tell me about it. At Pompeii, the alley, as the tablinum, are narrower and higher than required by these proportions. In the tougher period, the entrances were ornamented with pilasters and treated... Fox apocalypse. I thought you said there was. It's the same situation but for foxes. Count me the fuck in. I would never survive. I just want to pet cats, bro. And then the cats come to me. I'd feel so blessed. And then suddenly I'd be a cat. I just realized something with the sensitivity of this. Is that you can see how much I fidget. If it's the same situation. Oh, my apologies, Gaming Aussie. My apologies. I misread what you said. Guess we all know what the fox says. Ding 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 ding. Don't get me started. Foxes are loud. That's true. They scream. Oh Lord, they scream. At Pompeii, the alae, as the tablinum, are narrower and higher than required by these proportions. In the tougher period, the entrances were ornamented with pilasters and treated like the broad entrance of the tablinum. Yeah, you can see how much I move. She move, she move, she move. They are. You should look. The Tiki Taki has some good fox videos. I highly recommend. One of my favorite things about TikTok is animal videos. 100%. Just teach your algorithm to show you animals instead of people, and it's a great place to go. I've had some foxes in, like, my nan's back garden used to get some foxes. We used to leave some cat food out for them. And then if we left it by the door and we like turned the light off, we'd be able to see them. And if we were quiet, we could just watch them. Fox call videos are great. Have you seen the one where the fox steals a girl's phone and just runs into a hole with it? It's great. With reference to the purpose and uses of these rooms, we have no information beyond a remark of Vtuber in regarding to the placing of images of ancestors in them. This throws no light upon their origin, for only a few noble families could have possessed a sufficiently large number of ancestral busts or masks to make it necessary to provide a special place for these. While the alae from an essential and characteristic part of the Pompeian house. Now and then an ala was used as a dining room. I think that's just a mistype because it doesn't have an E on the end, and I assume they still want to do alaes, not alas. Ala la 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 la. By the way, alae is Latin for wings. I don't know if that helps, but I thought it was interesting. That makes sense, because it's like the wings of a stage, because it's on the wings of the atrium. That makes sense. Ala is singular of alae. Ah, that makes sense. I thought it was a mistype. Was used as a dining room. More frequently, perhaps, one was utilised for a wardrobe. As many be seen from the traces of the woodwork, A careful study of the remains only deepens the impression that, at Pompeii, the Alae served no definite purpose, but were a survival from a previous period in which they responded to different conditions of life. Oh, so they were just like, oh, we've got an extra room here, I have no idea what to do with it. An interesting parallel presents itself in the arrangement of a type of peasant's house found in Lower Saxony. The main entrance, as in the early Italic house, leads into a large and high central room. At the sides of this and of the main entrance are the living rooms and stalls. At the back of the central room is widened by two recesses corresponding with the Alae. The hearth stands against the rear wall. In the side walls, at the rear of each recess, are a window and a door. The two windows admit light to the part of the central room furthest from the entrance. The doors open into the farmyard and the garden. The Italic house in the beginning was not a city residence shut in by party walls, but the isolated habitation of a countryman. The design of the Alae, as the recesses in the Low Saxon farmhouse, was to furnish light to the atrium, which, as we have seen, was completely covered by a roof, there being only a small hole to let out smoke. The large windows in the rear of the ale of the house of Sullust, but that was a lot of ofs. In the rear of the Alae of the house of Sullust, may be looked upon as a survival, but in city houses generally, light could not be taken in this way from the sides. After the compulvium had come into general use, the conservative tradition still remained still retained the Alae whenever possible, though they no longer answered their original purpose. Oh, fascinating. Normally I feel like we're quite, at least maybe it's more of a modern thing, that we're quite quick to get rid of things or modernize houses. Whereas this one is, yeah, I mean, we're not using it, but it could be a wardrobe. We could eat in there. It works. Why not keep it? What the hell happened there? I just took a drink of tea and I just laid down, apparently. Oh, I love how glitchy this is. This is wonderful. The rooms about the atrium. The Andron. Not Anderson. In front, there were rooms at either side of the entrance, originally fitted up as shops and opening on the street, but sometimes used as dining rooms or sleeping rooms, or for other domestic purposes. I'm also imagining renovating is more complicated, and labour-intensive purpose must be a factor. Yeah, but I'm wondering about buildings that were built after the city was put together, and how they still built with Alae, even though they didn't have purposes at that point. On each side of the atrium were 2 or 3 small sleeping rooms. In narrow houses these, as well as one or both of the Alae, were occasionally omitted. At the rear were 1 or 2 rooms of the same depth as the tablinum, used in most cases as dining rooms. They frequently had a single board entrance on each side of the peristyle or the garden, but were sometimes entered by a door from the atrium or from the Alae. The door on the side of the atrium seems generally to have been made when the house was built. If the owner did not wish to use it, it was walled up and treated as a blind door, an ornament of the atrium. Wait, did they have rooms on the atriums that led to nothing? The power of social norms. Probably. What kind of house does not have an Alae? not any built by a respectable Pomeranian. Potentially, yeah, that could exactly be it. People are weird like that. The rooms about the atrium in the pre-Roman period were made high. Those in front and at the sides, often measuring 15 feet to the edge of the ceiling, which had the form of a groined vault. The rear room was still higher, the crown of the vaults being as far above the floor as the flat ceiling of the tablinum. A corresponding height was given to the doors. Those in the house of the Faun measured nearly 14 feet. Damn, that's big! The upper part of the doorway was doubtlessly pierced for the admission of light in the manner indicated by wall paintings and shown in our restoration of one side of the atrium in the House of Solace. Wait a cotton picking minute. I have an example of this in modern. So a lot of British houses, at least, have a window above our doors. I don't know why we have this. I think it's to let light into other rooms and things like that. I don't know. I'm not 100%. But it's definitely something that does not serve a function anymore, but it's still there, she says, glancing over. Alternate, it's just the developer reusing the same house assets. That too. We have too much sun right now. Take it away. We're always complaining that we don't see the sun, but we've had too much this summer. We've had too many summers. Normally we have like 1 or 2 nice days, and then it's over. But we've had like 3 heat waves this summer. I'm dying. Take it away from me. Anyway, yeah. Oh, Wallace. Half summer, please. Yeah, just half a summer. But no. 3 fucking heat waves. Oh, take away that sun in general. 1 hour of sun and the British go crazy. Yes! All the meat disappears from the supermarkets. All the washing is out. The households get three lots of washing done in a day. And we burn so much coal. We need to ban summer. Oh, that would be great. Britain's #1 foe, global warming. Yes, it's killing us. It's killing us. We're dying. We still have to work in this shit. I hate it. The kids still going to school. I feel sorry for them. At least I don't have to wear a school uniform anymore. The ice cream cabinets are empty for weeks. Yeah! Oh, I did get an ice cream today, to be fair. Work went round with some ice creams today, and it was glorious. We do suffer. Absolutely suffer. I have some ice cream downstairs, actually. I have some mango ice cream. But it's a pain in the ass to get out the freezer, because the freezer's really small. Our freezer is small. And the ice cream tub is big. And it's really fiddly to get out and put back in, so it can't be arsed most of the time. It's like more effort to get the ice cream than it is to enjoy the ice cream. It's not worth it, bro. The ice cream's too much effort. Life is pain until Briony reads. Yeah, I need to do that. I can't remember what I was up to. I'm gonna start from here again. Something about groined. I remember the groined vault because I was like, that's a very strange thing. And the House of the Faun. Where did I get to? 14 feet, that's where I got distracted, because I was like, damn, there's a big door. The upper part of the doorway was doubtless pierced for the... and the upper part of the doorway being pierced, because that's what made me think of our doors and what weird little window we have. For the admission of light in the manner indicated by wall paintings and shown in our restoration of one side of the atrium in the house of Sullust. Oh lord, that's a high number fig. That's going to throw us way into the book, isn't it? I don't think I could deal with that. I don't like that you can see how I'm slouching, too. That I've sank in my seat, physically. I've been trying to sit properly, but I'm just going to move me. There we go. Big figs! Good lord, this is a fig 76% of the way in. Posture check, never! My posture's terrible and we're sticking with it. Nah, move model. Yeah. Yeah. This is fine. I've had good posture all stream, okay? I'm allowed a bit of shitty posture. Just now I've got to find where we are. This is the problem with the things. Where are we up to? Yeah, we're not there yet. We're not there. Oh, we're going to talk about the art soon, though. Wait, no! I remember those figs. We're nearly there. There we go. There we go. I'm not clicking on the other fig. It'll take us several years to get back here. The andron was a passage at the right or left of the tablinum, connecting the atrium with the peristyle. The name was used originally to designate an apartment in the Greek house, but was applied by the Romans to a corridor. In modern times, the passage has often been erroneously called faucus, like ficus, the plant. The andron is lacking only in small houses, or in those in which a different connection is made between the front and rear portions by means of a second atrium in other rooms. So we got the garden, peristyle, and rooms about the peristyle. Because this has the word style in it, and my brain always thinks that this is like I'm talking about a style of something rather than a room just called peristyle. A few Pomanian houses, like those of the olden times, are without a peristyle, having a garden at the rear. In such cases, there is a colonnade at the back of the house, facing the garden. This is the arrangement in the house of the surgeon, of Sallust and Epidus Rufus. In the large house of Pansa, we find both a peristyle and a garden, the latter being at the rear of the peristyle. And in many houses a small garden was placed wherever available space could be found. It's the style of peri-peri sauce used to build rooms. Oh lord, they're spicy rooms then, aren't they? See, now the problem is I sat back up. And now I'm tall. I mean, I guess I could be tall. There's nothing wrong with being tall. I'm not used to it though. Hello, this is a tall Briony. What happens if I stand up? How far could it go? Not far. Hello down there. Sit my butt back down. The peristyle is a garden enclosed by a colonnade, or having a colonnade on 2 or 3 sides. When this was higher on the north side than on the other 3, as in the house of the Silver Wedding, the peristyle was called Rodion? Petty, the platypus! Tall Briony. No, the world isn't ready for tall Briony. Briony's not ready for tall Briony. Tall Briony could reach so many things. Small Briony likes to touch things that are high up that she can reach because it makes her feel good. Like if there's bunting or a flag that's within my reach, I will go to touch it. But Tall Briony could do that with so many things, and she might touch something dangerous. Oh look, electric. Bzzzt. Bug zapping for Brionies. Tall Briony bug zapper. Rhodian. In the tougher period, the colonnade was frequently in 2 stories, on all 4 sides or on the front alone. Fragments of columns belonging to the secondary story have been found in many houses, but in only one instance, that of the house of the centenary, are they of such a character as to enable us to make an accurate restoration. Here, the double series of columns extend only across the front. How does normal height Briony clean hotel rooms when short? Don't you get lost in king size ones? Yeah, I kind of do. It's been taking a lot of practice to get used to doing king size bed sheets. They are massive and so hard to do. I'm also not the shortest. There is an older lady who is shorter than me, but she's teaching me her ways on how short people can do the bedding. So we're getting there. We do get lost in it sometimes, though. A separate entrance, posticum, usually connected the peristyle with a side street. At the rear, there was often a broad, deep recess, etc., corresponding with a tablinum. The location of the other rooms in this part of the house is determined by so many conditions and manifests so great a diversity that it may be spoken of more conveniently in connection with their use. I work in a hotel, housekeeping, and I am small and bedsheets are big, so sometimes you can kind of get you definitely lose the blanket inside of them. The ways of short foo, yes, but sometimes there's so much bed and so little person. It's difficult. But I've been doing 10 beds a day at this point for the last week or so. I'm getting okay at it. Not good, but okay. Sleeping rooms. The small high rooms about the atrium were in the earlier times used as bedrooms, and such they remained in some houses, as that of the Faun, down to the destruction of the city. The sleeping rooms about the peristyle were much lower, and the front opened by means of a broad door in its whole, or almost its whole, width upon the colonnade. These rooms could frequently be entered also through a small side door from a dining room, or a narrow recess opening on the peristyle. The design of the arrangement is obvious. In summer, the inconvenient large door could be left open day and night, a curtain being stretched across the space. In winter, it would be opened only for airing and cleaning, the small door being used at other times. Briony Efficiency Smith. Give it a few more weeks. I'm gonna be so efficient at beds. I'm gonna make beds so fast. Like whatcha? And new linens will appear. The place for the bed was sometimes indicated in the plan of the room. In a bedroom of the house of the centaur, of which an end view is given in this fig. A narrow alcove was made for the bed at the left side. The floor of the alcove is slightly raised, and the ceiling as often is in the form of a vault, while the ceiling of the room is higher and only slightly arched, A similar arrangement is found in several other rooms decorated in the first style. In several houses, as in the House of Apollo, there is a sleeping room with alcoves for 2 beds. Sorry, 2 beds just reminded me of something. One kind of funny room I cleaned, actually. So obviously there's some twin rooms that have 2 beds. That's fine. And they're usually quite close together. There's not actually that much room for both of those beds. But there was one room I went to clean, and they'd moved the beds physically as far apart as you could go. It was hilarious. 2 bros sharing a twin room. Pushing the beds as far apart as possible, because they're not gay. Like, they had to, like, push them past some of the tables that come out of the wall kind of thing to get them as far as physically possible. First you make a sandwich, then you make a bed, then you take over the world. Yeah! But yeah, that tickled me. In bedrooms with a mosaic floor, the place for the bed is ordinarily white, being separated from the rest of the room by a stripe suggestive of a threshold. A similar division is often indicated in the wall decorated, particularly that of the second style. The part designated for the bed is set off by pilasters on the end walls, and differently treated both. What's on in the background? There is a fire. I think it's... One second. There was some background noise. I turned it off. There might be some from outside because my window was on, but I was also getting my fiance's TikToks, I think. They were quite loud. If you hear something now, it's outside. The part designated for a bed set off by pilasters at the end of the wall and differently treated, both in respect to decorative design and the arrangements of colours. There it is, the little alcoves for beds. That was outside. But I'm not closing my window, you're gonna have to live with it. I live next to a popular place in the evenings, so... It's fine! We're gonna read about dining rooms. As long as it was customary to sit at meals at any fair-sized apartment could be used as a dining room. When the early Italic house was extended by the addition of a peristyle and the Greek custom of reclining at a table was introduced, it became necessary to provide a special apartment, and the Greek name for such a room with the 3 couches, trilineum, came into use. For convenience in serving, the length of a dining room, according to Vitruvius, should be twice the width. At Pompeii, however, the dimensions are less generous, with an average width of 12 to 13 feet. The length rarely exceeds 20 feet. In many cases, one end of the room opened on the peristyle, but could be closed by means of broad doors or shutters. Late night library. I wish it was a late night library. I do know where one of those is, though. That is a real thing. It's just very rare. So that's the plan of the dining room with 3 couches and 1 tiny little table. The plan of a typical dining room is given in this fig. This one here. The couch at the right of the table was called the upper couch. At the left, the lower, and that between, the middle couch. With few exceptions, each couch was made to accommodate 3 persons. The dinner rested on his left arm on a cushion at the side nearest the table, and stretched his feet out towards the right. Hence, the first, on the upper couch, had what was called the highest place. The one next was said to recline below him, because lying on the side towards which the first person extended his feet, the man at the outer end of the lower couch was said to be at the foot. When in the Gospel of John we read a disciple laying on Jesus' breast, the meaning is easily explained by reference to Roman usage. John was reclining in the place next below the master. His arrangements makes clear to us the reason why the couches were so placed that the lower one projected further beyond the table than the upper. The feet of those on the lower couch were extended towards the end furthest from the table. No, it's 1 person per couch lying down. I couldn't imagine eating all my meals lying down. That would be very awkward. Nope, I didn't want to do that. Take me back. There we go. To the couches grouped in the manner indicated, the same name was applied to the dining room triclinium. Of those in the dining rooms only scanty remains are found. In summer, the Pomanians, as the Italians of today, were fond of dining in the open air. Yeah, but that doesn't mean 3 people sat in them, because it seems to be that they reclined in them. Three people could sit on those sofas. 1 person did. In order to save the trouble of moving heavy furniture, couches and masonry were not infrequently constructed in the garden, and having been preserved, such a triclinium that in the garden of the tannery. The arrangement... Oh, this is a big numbered fig again. But I do kind of want to see it. Where is it? Where the fig? Here? In the plan of the room at the tannery? Oh, but I wanted to see some pictures of some stone sofas. Boo. Invisible fig. It is the invisible fig. No, we're not quite that far. This is close. Where were we? Which has a square table and a round altar. In many gardens we find about the triclinium the remains of 4 or 6 columns. These supported a frame of timber or lattice work upon which vines were trained, making a shady bower. As in the garden of the tavern in the first region referred to below. Oh my god, that's an even bigger number! Like this. Oh, these numbers are so big. I don't know. The figs are getting out of control. That was in the 400s. So much figs. So little time. We haven't done the sleeping rooms yet. Done the gardens. No, we have done the sleeping rooms, haven't we? We're in the dining rooms. That's where we are. Oh yeah, 404. That's what I clicked on. The couches were ordinarily not provided with backs, but the outer ends of the upper and lower couches sometimes had a frame to hold the cushion, as indicated in another fig. This fig, apparently. And shown more clearly in our restoration of this. Ah, so that's what it was. So there'd be a frame for some cushion. Household furniture. We're going to go into so much detail that we're going to specifically talk about Pompeian furniture. Crazy. The detail this book goes into. We're all going to be absolute Pompeian experts by the end of this. If we get that far. I might go to 50% and then maybe we'll take a break from this book and read something else. I think that's fair. Getting halfway through. And then we take a break. God, where were we? That was 188, I think I clicked on. In the dining room, small movable altars must have been used for the offerings, such as those of terracotta or bronze, not infrequently met with in the course of excavation. A fixed altar has been found in only one instance, in a small dining room in the 8th region. Here, as our plan, this one here. This one here. Wow, we're learning about Pompeii. I was resisting the urge to sing that so bad, and then you just did it. I can't be blamed for this. I think this book is longer than we expected. Also, fiance comes home and sees a drastic change in furnishing. We're living Pompeii style now, honey. We're gonna put some columns outside. It's gonna be great. The front of the apartment set off as an anteroom, and in this was placed an altar of tufa. In accordance with an ancient custom, the children, even those of the imperial family, sat on low stools at a table of their own on the open side of the large table in the open-air trincilium. In the 9th region, the children's seat is preserved, a low bench of masonry about 40 inches long connected with the projecting arm of the lower couch. I see, they have the child's table. The inner part of the dining room, designated for the table and couches, was often distinguished from the free space in a way that I just need to check something. Was indicated in the bedrooms, sometimes by a difference in the design of the mosaic floor, more frequently by the division of the wall decorated and the arrangement of the ceiling. In the 3rd and 4th decorative styles, the division is less plainly marked than in the 2nd, but often the side walls back of the couches and the inner end of the room have each a single large panel, with a small panel at the right and left, while on each side wall in front are only 2 panels of the same size. Exactly. Then we can get rainwater. Then we can pay less on our water bills. Compulvian. It's the future / the past. In one respect, the ordinary dining room was far from convenient. Those who had the inner places could not leave the table or return to it in the course of a meal without disturbing one or more of those reclining nearer the outside. large rooms in which an open space was left between the couches and the wall, or in which several tables in their sets of couches could be placed, were unknown in the pre-Roman Pompeii. In the time of the Empire, a few of these large dining rooms were built in older houses. There is one measuring about 25 by 30 feet in the house of Panzia, another of which the dimensions are 23 by 30 feet in the... Oh, yeah, thank you so much for the follow. Oh, heck yeah, 150 follow, thank you so much. Monarch. Monarchis. Mwah. Thank you so much. Really appreciate that. 250 on Twitch! Woo! Call me AR, that's a lot better. Yeah. Ari! Nice to meet you, Ari. In the house of Castor and Pollux, and third, 36 feet long, in the house of Kitharist. In a number of houses, we find a large, fine apartment designed by the Greek word osius. Hello, Grey Cloak. AK-47. Nah, we used an RE-250. Oh, heck yeah, we did. Yes, I live in the Forbidden Library. I got trapped here until I read 10,000 books. The number down there is how many books I have left. I'm working on it. We're getting there slowly. The number of houses we find are large, fine apartment, but designed by the Greek word osius, which seems often to have been used for a dining room, especially on notable occasions. A particularly elegant form of the Corinthian osius, which had a row of columns about the sides, a short distance from the walls, the room being thus divided into a main part with a vaulted ceiling and a corridor with a flat ceiling. The couches would be placed in the main part. The guests could pass their places along the corridor behind the columns. The remains of such an osius may be seen in the house of Melegia, and of the Labyrinth. An especially interesting example, unfortunately not yet wholly excavated, but might be today since this book is so old, is in the House of the Silver Wedding. In this case, only the inner part, designed for the couches, is set off by columns. We may assume that there was a vaulted ceiling over the middle, resting on the entablature of the columns, that the ceiling of the corridor between the columns and the wall was flat and of the same height as the entablature, and that the front part of the room had a flat or slightly arched ceiling of the same height as the crown of the vault over the middle. Heave. Sit up. In the more pretentious Roman houses, there was sometimes a dining room for each season of the year. Good damn. When Trimalchio in Petronus's novel boasts that he has 4 dining rooms. We are to understand that he had one each for winter, summer, autumn, and spring. Trimalchio! I got that entirely wrong. Heck yeah! In the case of the Pompeian houses, we are warranted in assuming that dining rooms opening towards the south were for winter use, towards the north for summer use. Other area apartments with a large window in addition to the wide door may well have been intended for summer Further than this, it is hard possible to classify Pompeian dining rooms in accordance to season. Apparently. Oh Lord, she's everywhere, all at once. Should we try to get my hands back? Because we're coming to the end of the stream. Let's see if I can get my hands back. 4 seasons or 1 for each breakfast. Ah, that is important. 1 for each breakfast is important. Each one has like a different tea brew for it. No. My hand tracking is still a bit weird. We can't put it back on. I don't know why that happened. I'm going to have to look it up. I need to update a load of stuff, like I said. OBS needs an update. Steam Deck needs an update. My hand tracking needs an update. That's my job for tomorrow, before we stream. Update everything. But that is all I have for you today. Thank you so much, everyone, for coming. Thank you, everyone in chat. Thank you, anyone who watches the VOD. If you have not already, I would highly appreciate it if you could leave a like on the video and subscribe to the channel. And if you're on Twitch, give the channel a cheeky follow. Thank you so much for those who already have. Yay! Good job. You're not called Briony Handsmith. I'm definitely not. I can't wave goodbye. Unless we want to be stop motion again for a little while. You'll have to make do with just fidget me. Wow, it's me. If you've done all that, the other way you can support is by following the social medias. I'm most active, and by that not active a lot, but you know, on Blue Sky and my Discord, so join that. And if you've done all that and you'd like to support me anyway, you can do that in multiple ways. Obviously, I've released my audiobook recently. Go search Briony Rose Smith on Audible and go pick that up if you like my reading. I also have books. Go on to Amazon, Briony Rose Smith. You will find many books to read. You can also do YouTube membership where you get emotes, exclusive streams, Discord channel, merch discounts. There's the Patreon where you get short stories, exclusive stream, merch discounts, and free books. There is the Kofi where if you like my emotes, you can the emotes that are being spammed, you can commission me to draw some of those emotes. I also have a merch store where you can also buy buy ebooks directly from me rather than from Amazon if you prefer. First edition copies of my books, which aren't available anywhere else anymore because I took them down for shinier versions. But I still have some old versions, so if you want to be cool and have an old version, then you have to buy it from there. Notebooks, a crochet pillow, sticker. Not a crochet pillow. I have a pillow and a crochet potato, not a crochet pillow. And last but not least, Briony Rose Crafts on Etsy has some lovely little crochet projects from moi. Thank you, stream. Hope the bed sheets don't eat me. I'll do my best. I will be back tomorrow, assuming I survive the bed sheets of work tomorrow. I will be back tomorrow with some the usual, the Ace Attorney. Yes, the Ace Attorney. And then Limba's Company on Tuesday, where I'm looking forward to it because we've got some minis to read and we've got updated Dante notes. There's a lot of reading to be done on Tuesday, and I'm excited for it. Heck yeah, we like reading. I hope you enjoyed this reading because I had fun. I hope you had fun. This has been Briony Rose Smith, live in the Forbidden Library. Good.